So today we shall start with the Marxist criticism, and Marxist criticism. Please project the file. You can see on the page it's a economic and cultural theory of Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels. So again, before moving to all those details, we have Marxism or Marxist party as a in the political context of our scenario. So there may be every chance for you to go for having a confusion whether are we going to be taught with some political theories like Marxist criticism, and of course there may be people who are the supporters of the politics as well as the opponents of the politics, or with the different political lineages. But in the beginning itself, let me tell you, actually Marxist criticism in the context of it's being taught in literary criticism and theory paper, it doesn't have much to do with the politics. Okay, so we are going to teach this as a, or this is going to be taught as a political as a theory itself, as a literary theory itself. So of course we know these movements we have been coming across. Some of the movements have been those came as movements and later it became theory. Some of those didn't have to be movements, but directly they came out as theories or criticism. So this is the way these take place. But as Marxist criticism or any other like feminism, some of these theories, some of these concepts, we know we have that the different versions of the same in our own political or cultural scenario, so that we in one way or other we are familiar with these terms. Let me tell you another term, futurism or Dadaism. These terms or these concepts are not there in our immediate political or cultural context, so that we are not really aware. But Marxist criticism or feminist criticism, in one way or other, if not as some literary theories, we know something about this. And of course I cannot tell that Marxist criticism, this one doesn't have anything to do with the political party oriented ideology. But here in the beginning or in this context, we will be dealing with this Marxist criticism as usual with any other literary theory, how this will be influential in analyzing literary works. So as we do with the feminist analysis or any other neoclassical approach, we have Marxist analysis. We can have Marxist analysis of a literary writing, so that we are learning Marxist criticism. So in the beginning itself, I would like to tell you, we are not going to teach you this political party oriented any ideas, but here this is just as with any other movements, we are going to deal with this theory as purely as a literary device, literary type, literary approach towards how we can make use of these ideas. As with many other theories, Marxist criticism also has a lot of tenets of its own, many premises of its own, and how we can make use of those in analyzing certain literary works, or what is the relevance of making use of this in analyzing literary works. Okay, so Marxist criticism, now into the text. It's about Marxist criticism in its diverse forms grounds its theory and practice on the economic and cultural theory of Karl Marx. You might have heard about this name, Karl Marx. The major figures, main figures in the context of discussing this theory, it's mainly Karl Marx, and the other one is Friedrich Engels. So you have a space there between Friedrich and Engels. It's not together. So these two persons were the major proponents of the theory. Okay, and they themselves called their economic theories communism, not Marxism. Actually the term they used it was communism, not Marxism. Marxism, of course, you can see the term came from the name of Karl Marx. Okay, it's Karl Marx, and again later his followers changed or opted for the or preferred the name Marxism. But these people actually used the term, they used the term or preferred the term communism. Okay, and we will come to the relevance of the term rather than Marxism. That itself is given here, and designating their belief in the state ownership of industry, transport, rather than private ownership. So, what is the context in which this Marxism comes into being or communism comes into being? What was the relevance or what is the relevance of such a theory or establishing or trying to establish such a political scenario, political mode of living in what is the relevance we will see. So, not in the present context, I tell you, we had different kinds of ruling systems all across the world in different centuries, in different epochs, right? So, we had master slave relationships, even with the same during the same time we had monarchy. What is monarchy? Monarchy is the rule by different kings and dynasty. See the whole, it's like a kingdom and a dynasty as an establishment, and a king as the ruler. The whole kingdom is under the leadership as well as the ruling of a particular king. Maybe a very what do you say, very cruel king or very kind type of a ruler, whatever it may be, the person is having ultimate authority. And later we could see a lot of different kinds of systems, social ruling systems established. Later it was with the masters, and again at the same time we could see master slave relationship, especially in the context of colonization and all. How master slave relationship, because the one other part is not treated as even as humankind itself, even. Okay, so like they are brutally punished, they are exploited, their work, their hard work, everything, their wealth, everything is exploited, and they are denied of every basic human right, the slaves, and the masters holding every prominence as well as power in the society. So that was another kind of system that got established. Even nowadays we do not actually see it as a very prominent kind of system in a society, especially in a democratic context. We will come to that. But what about later? We could see serfdom, feudal system. Feudal system was with a, the term, if you get the term in Malayalam, then you will understand the relevance. That is Janmi Kudiyan Bandham. You might have heard about the term. That also was another kind of feudal serfdom. That means a feudal lord, landowning lord, and he has a lot of people working in fields or any other see any of his established either industries or wherever it may. Industrialization came later, but mainly it was with agriculture field. Many people working, and these people only getting or harvesting the means of their production as well as the hard work of other people. They alone exploit, or they alone enjoying it. That's why we had a song, we had a poetry. മലയപ്പുലേന മാടത്തിൻ മുറ്റത്ത് മഴ വന്ന നാളൊരു വാഴ നട്ടു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടൊരു മലയാളം poetry ഉണ്ട്. What is the essence of that poetry? Do you know? The essence goes like these people work, even other, not even in the mode of these people working for them, even everything, anything and everything, at least the kind of fruits they have in their yards, that they were not owning, they were not capable of enjoying. All those belonged, all those were exploited or taken away by these feudal lords. There was such a time period. And later with the industrialization, we came to another kind of system, that is single ownership, and that is the context in which this Marxist criticism comes into being. That means one person who is actually with the middle class arising of the middle class, such a system came. So you know how monarchy or any other kind of systems got replaced with the time. Okay, the time after time, different systems came. Even before that, we had dictatorship. We have dictatorship with Hitler or any other one person holding, and it's about completely about cruelly destroying the opponents and all. We could see that kind of a system also, ruling system also in different parts of the countries. But this master slave, it's even beyond master slave relation. This is about one person holding, one particular person just holding every means of production, because he is capable of owning the industry or many other equipments, everything, so that people come to work for them. Nowadays also we have the system, that is an owner and many other people working. But the problem is with now we have a lot of rights to protect the working people, but that time there was no one to question the exploitation on the part of these owners. See, you can see the private ownership. I have set it in negative symbol. That means Marxist criticism wanted to oppose this tendency, because one person only holding the industry or they were holding a lot of established systems. They were like mainly an industry, especially an industry or any other part of any other kinds of industrial setting ups, they were owning privately. That means one person as the main owner. That means നമ്മളിപ്പം മുതലാളി എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു term, you know, to bring it again. Then what was happening, the problem was these people who were working in their industries or any other systems, they were exploited of their hard works. They were not given proper wage, they were not given any other benefits or any other means of production, nothing. Actually they were not considered as they were not treated as, or basic rights were denied, unlike in the present where we have a democratic, now at present we have democracy as our system. At least as we talk about flag independence, we can talk about democracy, because if you are exploited, if you are denied of the wage that for the work that you have done, you can definitely question. But that was a time when it was totally impossible. And then these people actually, Marx and Engels, Marx actually came from a very poor background. He was not a wealthy person. Frederick Engels, comparatively he was wealthy, because his father was somewhat in a better position. But these two people were bosom friends. They were really close friends, and they began to think about such a situation where people are working like animals for these owners, private owners, and these private owners were accumulating wealth without making much better payments or any other benefits or luxuries for these poor working class people. And they wanted to challenge and replace such a system with a common state ownership of industry. That means nowadays also, you know, people work in government sectors, some government industries, but there are a lot of established or already decided role oriented wage system and all. Okay, so if you work from this time to this time, morning to afternoon, there is a commonly decided wage. But there was not such a thing during that time, and it was just about a private owner deciding everything. And these people really wanted to bring a classless society. So how this class happens, the class system, it is with this private owner and working class people. And Marx and Engels, they wanted to have a scientific explanation that this is just about accumulating wealth in one sector, and we want a difference in the system. We want this common means, see, it's about state owning the industry. but so that this equal distribution of wealth, or at least the wage, can be decided in a decent manner. So the people who work hard also will get a kind of benefit. Otherwise they will be exploited, and only one or two or three people in the whole place will become or amass the wealth, and others will be just working like animals without having anything to claim, anything to talk as get as wealth or anything. See, like, so this is the way they began to talk about common ownership of production, distribution, and exchange. So here I'll tell you, I'll read for you. Designacy believes the state ownership of industry, transport, etc., rather than private ownership. They wanted to promote. They didn't like this private ownership. They wanted to get an alternative. How we can change such a system? At least how we can bring such a decent way of distributing wealth. And they have been formulating a lot of scientific explanation for this. That is why you can tell Marxist criticism as a scientific theory. Okay, this is purely scientific theory. They there's a book, even that Das Capital. In that you get a lot of even formulas. It's not like written like a literature text. You get a lot of formula how to distribute wealth in such and such way, so that you can make a better distribution. So this is the way they get it very scientifically. Okay, and the aim of Marxism is to bring about a classless society. So we have two different classes existing in the case of a private ownership. Then we have well defined terms there. I'll come with that. This based on the common ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. That means ownership, it should be common, either by a government, that is in a democratic situation it is the government elected by the people, or elected by the majority, if you want to make it more specific. Even in that case, this private ownership, it's almost like a dictatorship. Like the person only has the power, has only the wealth, and he only enjoys everything, but others are not having any privileges, are denied of any privilege, at least as human beings. So here Marxism is a materialist philosophy. Now it is about materialism. What do I mean by materialism? Materialism, it's about talking about materials, the material wealth. That means if you want, you have to make the production. Of course, this working system and the production, all these are to be retained. Okay, but the problem is with the benefit, the wealth, everything getting accumulated only in one or two people. That was the problem. That was the problem actually Marxism or communism as a theory wanted to address in the very beginning itself. That is, this materialist philosophy means it tries to explain things without assuming the existence of a world or of forces beyond the natural world around us and the society we live in. We wanted to take everything or count everything on behalf of the material means of production. Okay, it looks for concrete, scientific, and logical explanations of the world of observable fact. That is true with every version of science. That means to get every idea, everything explained on behalf of some scientific basis or observable facts. That's why we have this fascination for science, as it's always and already it's logical, or it's something logical. It's not something based on fancy. So science, Marxist criticism also based its major premises, explanations on scientific ideas. So scientific explanations they wanted to give on behalf of wealth accumulation as well as distribution. Okay. And Marxism sees progress as coming about through the struggle for power between different social classes. We told about some social classes. It's a struggle for power between social classes. We will see, we have two terms there. The simplest Marxist model of society sees it as constituted by a base, that is a material means of production, and distribution and a superstructure. That is, we have two terms here, base and superstructure in the beginning. You can see the base, that is the material means of production, distribution and exchange. In a society which is highly production oriented, that means majority of the people are working and finding their means of livelihood. They find out by some production, like we have already told about that idea. That means a lot of people working in the same industry. This system we can see in our Kerala context, like some BD workers, a lot of people working together, and it's a kind of means of production in our area. So it depends with the any society we can see such preferable mode of production anywhere. Okay, so this is just the material means of production and distribution as well as exchange, those come under the concept of base in Marxist criticism. And what do we mean by superstructure? What do we mean by superstructure? This is the cultural world of ideas, art, religion and law. So before going to base and superstructure, let me ask you, this base, the idea of base you can get easily just by knowing, okay, for us to have education or any other luxurious, that is something beyond our basic need, we need something like wealth. We need economic stability for having for thinking about something other like education. Is it when I ask you what are the basic or primary necessities for us to sustain life, it's of course food, water, cloth and all. Okay, and only after that the education, any other the listed out ideas here, that's cultural world of ideas, art, religion, law, all these are the secondary. If you want to talk about the extreme, that is, for us to sustain life, the first requirement is about food and cloth, and as if you want, you can add shelter as well. So after having this base, that can be taken as the base. Just think about a building. You have a base first, right? So I hope it is the presentation is there. Please make the presentation intact. Yeah. So the base, when you construct a home, you have a base first. In the beginning, you construct a base in the as part of the building. So that base, they talk about the material means of production. Only after producing, if you produce something, if you distribute, if you exchange, and if you earn a kind of if you have a better economic stability, then you can go to this superstructure. That means the cultural world of ideas, art, religion and law. Okay, this is one explanation for the term. That means after having a basic base there, then you can hold a lot of that is you can be an artist, then you can go for practicing religion, law, all these, okay, that coexist, but we do not know the problem of not having a proper base. That means those people who are denied of basic human rights or essential life sustaining things like food, water, all those essentials, when we are denied, then there is no chance of thinking about the superstructure at all. Okay, so this is the way base and superstructure. Another explanation also I'll tell you. Base, that means you have an established system. That means material means of production. You see, for example, when it is monarchy, the superstructure is normally a base. On the base we have a superstructure. You make the wall, you construct the wall or any other structures on the base of the building. So in the same way, if it is monarchy, you can see the art or any other laws or ideas of any kind, all those getting in one way or other influenced by the base. That means monarchy system. Then you know how art is used for the artistic forms, everything is used for praising the king, promoting the kingdom, promoting the kingly rule, And later with the feudal system also you can see how the ideology of that time is promoted by the art, religion and law of that particular system. Same with the dictatorship. You see Hitler's time. Can you think about having an art coming against Hitler? Of course the person is in one way or other vaporized. So of course the system which is the base which is existing at a time period and the superstructure is obviously in one, those two things contribute each other. And when our society is essentially based on means of production, we can see the same kind of art or artistic, any other laws, religion, religious views, everything getting influenced by the base. So these are two contributing features if you want to talk about it in the context of Marxist criticism. Okay, and then there is another term, another important term, can see here, ideology. After that you see ideology. What is ideology? Before that let me read that sentence for you. It will be helpful for you. Changes in the fundamental mode of material production affect changes in the class structure of a society, establishing in each era dominant and subordinate classes that engage in a struggle for the economic, political and social advantage. Of course, when the master is exploiting the workers, then there will be a kind of struggle. They may be having, sometimes it is very visible struggle. They may go against strike, they may go against these rulers with a strike and all. Nowadays we have this provision. But that time, actually these people were worried about doing that. Again going for a rebellion against these people because their whole life will be at stake, would be at stake. But nowadays we know how we can protest against, even for very every time we see a lot of struggles, strikes. So now in a democratic system it is possible, but if it is a dictatorship of dictator mode of ruling or monarchy, then there are a lot of see what you say, limitations, exactly limitations for people to go striking against such exploitation. Okay, so this is the way that comes there. And then next part, it is about ideology. It's a very complicated term, ideology. Just wait. So now it is about ideology. Okay, you can see the term ideology there. What do I mean by ideology? I'll read out first. Human consciousness is constituted by an ideology, that is, the beliefs, values and ways of thinking and feeling through which human beings perceive and by recourse to which they explain what they take to be reality. Have you understood anything? I'll explain. So what do you mean by ideology? Ideology, we all have this ideology, and this ideology itself is the point with which these people could rule, or these kinds of ruling system established their power. Ideology is the term that is given by Marxist criticism for ideology is false consciousness. That means it's a way of thinking, believing that, oh, this is like this. That means I am a servant, I am a working class man, I am a working class woman, so I am not supposed to speak against them. They are already in very high position. They are having all those wealth, so they are to be respected. This is what you mean by ideology. That means you believe that in one way or other, or because of some matter of any kind, in one way, or it may be because of the way you grow up or the cultural context you have been in, you think that you are supposed to subscribe to this mean. That means you are not supposed to speak against or go against these rules or regulations put forward by these people. Just think about such a situation. So this ideology that is in one way or other instilled in your mind actually gives prominence as well as promotion for the exploitation at different levels, different time periods, as well as different cultural and political context. So you can see here product of a position and interest of dominant class. Usually normally this ideology works according to the position as well as interest of the dominant class. So in every system we can see a dominant class and an exploited class, whether it is with the monarchy, whether it is with the dictatorship or with the serfdom or feudal system, or with the private ownership as we talk in this context of Marxist criticism, even with the democracy. Even with the democracy you can see this dominant class. Now can you tell that okay, of course we have an established democracy here and all of us are living in a very happy and peaceful manner. Everyone is the same. We all enjoy all the privileges and provisions in the society without having any limitation. Can you say that? No, that is not there. So every kind of rule, every system we have this dominant class and an underprivileged or unprivileged, underprivileged class. So here this ideology, of course, every time it works for the betterment only for the of the dominant class. And these beliefs or values or ways of thinking that we hold, that means the underprivileged sector, they believe that we are not supposed to challenge them. We are supposed to be obedient. We are supposed to work for them. This is the way they had been retaining their power. Okay, and this is the part with which they explain and they what they take to be reality. They think that this is the reality. They never want to challenge the system. And this is how it becomes a reigning ideology. What will be reigning ideology? R-E-I-G-N-I-N-G. Reigning means ruling ideology that contributes to the dominant exploitative class. Okay, and they are called, the term, please note down, bourgeoisie. Sometimes we use this term maybe without knowing the significance, but the basic idea we know, because you own the production, you own the means of production, and you do not give away your wealth to anyone. You are so selfish and you are so particular about accumulating the wealth for your own, so that you are a bourgeoisie. So this is a term very it's used in a very formal manner in the context of Marxist criticism. Bourgeois, the term bourgeois, B-O-U-R-G-E-O-I-S-I-E, bourgeois. And what is the term for the working class, wage earning working class? The term they used in the context of Marxism, we have another term, proletariat, for the wage earning working class. These two terms please note down, that is bourgeois and proletariat. Working class, the term used to refer to the working class is proletariat, P-R-O-L-E-T-A-R-I-A-T, proletariat. And the term for bourgeois, wage owners, who own the means of production, is bourgeoisie. Okay, bourgeois. And this is the way Marxist criticism divides the class, where we have one person owning the means of production and others are working for the person, even by getting exploited as well as denied of basic rights. So these people, Marx and Engels, wanted to bring a difference in this kind of system. And later with this itself we have changed in the mode of ruling the government systems. So nowadays it's impossible, but now the world is going back to such systems of getting exploited, people not having voice of their own. If you raise the voice against the government, even if they claim to be democratic, we are taxed like anything. So this is the way we have systems getting contaminated, even though it is holding, as we talk about flag independence. We have independence, but it's just sometimes it is just with a flag independence. Why do we say so? Even after colonization, it ended, and now we are post-colonials. Still, we have the problem with the colonial imperial powers still influencing us, or we see influencing our markets, exploiting the markets. The native markets are at stake. They cannot always excel because the foreign products are still coming and flooding to our markets. So this is the way systems, even though you call it democracy, you have a different picture of the same. So this had been happening every time, and during the time when Marx and Engels, I'll get you the time period when they lived. It's the lifespan of Marx, it's from 1880s to 1883, and with the Frederick Engels, it's from 1820s to 1895. So it's about basically it's about 19th century, but the influence, the followers, and the different versions of Marxism came into being in different countries. Actually, it didn't come in it didn't arise in India, but later the different versions as well as the influence and the governments began to be established in different parts of the nation. And now it's not just with the within one or two countries, but many other parts, many parts of the world, you have Marxist rules, Marxist governments as well. So this is the way these people could influence influence the world and the thinking with their concept. Because basically it was scientific theory. That's why people began to be attracted for the same. And we cannot always say that this is completely devoid of any exploitation or anything. You can think in the context of party politics, everything. It's open for your own thinking and analysis. Whether Marxism completely replaces this the tension between the owners and as well as the working class. But of course, changes had been there. That is why nowadays working class people can at least hold a minimum right, basic right. At least they have a decided structure of their wage. Okay, if you are a worker of this kind, you can claim this much amount. If you are a worker of this kind, and if you work from this time to this time, or during these hours, you have this kind of a payment system. So at least all these changes had been there, and we have to appreciate that. But later Marxist criticism, and of course the followers of Marx, some of them came out as the extreme dictators. Okay, you have to see with Stalin. Stalin, and later Marxism, you saw a lot of dictators again coming into the scene. Okay, picture. So, but as a whole, as a theory, you can talk about Marxist criticism in this way. That means mainly about Marxism. And what is the relevance of talking about Marxism in analyzing a text? That also we'll have to see. So as we do with the feminist criticism, when you have a woman character having some basic denial of right and all, if you are reading a novel and you analyze or you comment on that particular situation on behalf of what you call feminist ideas, feminist criticism gets you a lot of ideas, and you may use the term like patriarchy. Oh, this is patriarchal oppression, or this woman is denied of right. This is the way you analyze a text in which a woman is denied of her right. So same with the Marxist criticism. In a novel, when you see a master or slave relationship, or somewhere a person is exploited even after working for so long, and you have a situation there, then you can make use of this ideology or these concepts to analyze the work. This is the way we make use of the theories that we learn. Okay, so and let me just read for you the part so that it will be helpful for you to read the note. Regarding ideology, you got the point. And ideology is in complex ways the product of the position and the interests of a particular class, which is the class that we can point out in the context of ownership, that means bourgeois class. And in any historical era, the dominant ideology embodies and serves to legitimate legitimize and perpetuate. What do we perpetuating? Sustaining, okay, holding strongly. So the interest of the dominant economic and social class. In the present era, ideology is used in a variety of non-Marxist ways. Nowadays, we use this term very commonly. Oh, is it your ideology? Nowadays, we ask in that way. That means, oh, is it your blind belief? Sometimes we can talk it as a very blind belief. Oh, it's your ideology. I cannot accept that. Sometimes we use this term. That is non-Marxist ways we can use, but that time they used it very particularly for false consciousness that people or the underprivileged people held in their mind, so that they couldn't they couldn't make any move against this exploitation. Okay. And so it's ranging from a derogatory name for any set of political ideas that are held dogmatically and applied rigorously to a neutral name for ways of perceiving and thinking that are specific to an individual's race, sex, nationality, education or ethnic group. Sometimes it's like, oh, that's the ideology of your religion. That is the way. It's neutrally it designates something or something. Sometimes like very derogatorily for political beliefs. So it's his ideology. I cannot be up. He will not agree with any of the other parties. So this is the way we can make use of this term nowadays. But that time, please remember, false consciousness. That was the way Marx and Engels or Marxist criticism wanted to use that term. Okay. And in the era of capitalist economic organization that emerged in the West during 18th century, the reigning ideology incorporated the interest of the dominant and exploitative class. And the term you see here, bourgeois. So capitalism, actually this is capitalism. That is the term, and in Malayalam we can talk it to be Mudalalittam, capitalism itself. Okay. The bourgeois who own the means of production and distribution, as opposed to the proletariat or wage earning working class. So this is about wage earning working class getting exploited, and Marxism, these people wanted to give a kind of solution for this. That is how Marxist criticism came into being. Okay, so of course later versions we could see with a lot of dictator kind of people again coming as followers. Sometimes of course Marxism, if the label is used, they are also called Marxist, but their stands were some of their stands were really difficult, even worse than what you call see Hitler and all. You could see a lot of people in that way, like Stalin was one of the examples. Stalin he was a very adamant political leader who never promoted any opposition or any difference of opinion, and he used it to vaporize people. That was the term they used in that context. Later versions of Marxism, that is why it is somewhere it's like getting mutated and holding different varieties of people, varieties of leaders coming. And of course when leaders are bad, the movement as such loses its significance or its real worth. So that is all with the Marxist criticism as a theory, as a scientific approach. It is something really commendable, something really good, that it's about distributing wealth or distributing the means of production all to everyone for the sake of assuring equality. If you want to talk in the extreme, it's about equally making everyone equal. But that is ultimately it's impossible as well. We have to, if you talk about the the practicality of it, it's something something beyond ours, like utopian idealism. But if it is established, it's somewhat good also, because the exploitation can be limited or controlled in a desirable manner. So that's all with the Marxist criticism. So it's, I think